Hello, everyone. It is me, All Political. I've gotten rid of the previous headphones because apparently they're screeching and making people's eardrums bleed at random times throughout my videos, or the previous video. So I switched back to the good old Google Pixel earbuds again and turned up the volume a little bit so you can hear me a little bit better. Anyway, I stumbled across uh, a post on Reddit while I was chilling on the couch after a 4 hour long session of trying to mow my lawn with shitty old batteries on my electric mower. And it was a satirical post from the r slash love for land chads subreddit talking about how if you're a landlord, you should support free college. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, actually. I never thought about that. If you're a property owner, you should 100% support free college. And the reason being, as the logic goes, is that if you support free college, free tuition for colleges, then a lot more people are going to try to go to college. But there is something that isn't being addressed in that case, and that is the price of housing. You, a lot of people that go to college don't exactly have their own place. They're broke college students. So if you increase the demand of college through free tuition while keeping the barrier of entry low, then you encounter a problem where the demand for housing increases, the demand for dormitories increases, the cost of housing in the surrounding area increases, the prices for rents and apartments go up as well, because everybody's got to live somewhere, and apparently only a quarter of all college students in the United States actually live in dorms, and that's according to ChatGPT here, 22%. So three-fourths of college students already have a problem where universities don't have enough dorms and they have to live off campus as it is. So, and they have to take out student loans, like sometimes, in order to be able to pay off uh, that rent, that cost of living, etc., because they can't afford to do otherwise while going to college. So, already a big issue. And as a homeowner, I was like, oh, that actually sounds like a really good business opportunity, but I'm not evil, so I did look around at properties around my local college and did the math on it, and it's actually viable if you pick the right kind of place and avoid flood zones and all that fun stuff, and you have the right structuring for what you charge per room or per person, and just do a like across the board fee divided amongst the people for like utilities and all that. It is viable. You can actually get a pretty good return on investment around 10 to 50% per year if you do it right. If you buy property around or near a college campus and rent it out to college students, you can compete with the dorms there very easily because they're already expensive. So that was interesting. But another thing was I didn't know that apparently the average cost for a on-campus room was about 16 to 20 grand, and compared to like the average tuition cost of about $12,000. I'm pretty sure this is per year. Yeah, this is per year. So per year, your average tuition cost is about $12,000, which actually makes sense because my wife is going to college and I do all the numbers for her and make sure they make sense. And it's about $12,000 a year for her. Um, and when they try to do the room and board calculations and everything like that, it's around that $15,000, $20,000 mark for an entire year of room and board for on-campus dorms, which is just absurd if you think about it. $15,000 a year for a single student. That's about $1,200 a month, if not a little bit lower, for one room in a college dorm, of all places, for one student. Which is just atrocious if you think about it. The college dorms apparently are not great places to live, especially depending on if you go to like a mid university, because that's the closest thing that you can, go to for college, and that's the only thing you can really afford locally. You can't afford to go out of state. You can't afford to move. But you got to go to college somehow. Um, so yeah, you're kind of left with trying to figure it the fuck out with rent, and that's if you want to have. So let me get my thoughts straight. So that's not even including like distances and car travel and all that. So a lot of college students are going to want to live close by. Apparently, the figures that ChatGPT gave me is uh, I think a 10-minute drive or a 1 mile walk is like the good middle ground for travel distance for most college students trying to find a place around the college university, because it also has to be like bikeable, walkable, etc. So if you go to college, even if you have free tuition, you still have to deal with um, the cost of living, of housing, etc. And there's a reasonable expectation that you're either going to get fucked over by the university, or you're going to get fucked over by local property owners, landlords, etc. But they're probably going to be competing with the university, so they're going to be just ever slightly cheaper. But that doesn't solve the original issue of, even if there is free college, even if they make tuition free for colleges, just across the board, fees, books, etc., just include everything. Apparently, it is super fucking expensive to try to provide enough dormitories to people or college students to house all of them for free. And there is very little incentive for local colleges, towns, etc., to try to take on that burden through bond referendums, etc., because it doesn't make a lot of financial sense for them. They'd rather offload it to the problem to a third party, which is local apartments, individual property owners, etc. Um, because it's just overall cheaper for the university. And you know for a fact that if they made tuition free, those universities are going to be running on fucking fumes in terms of uh, cost, because they're going to get all their funds from the government, state, local, federal, taxpayer money being fed to the university. So they're going to try to cut as much as fucking possible down in order to make sure that uh, students have to pay as little as possible in regards to their education specifically. They're not going to care about the cost of housing. That's not their problem. They're going to completely offload that. So you come into a conundrum where, if you support free college, you also have to support free housing for students. And in order to solve for that problem, uh, you have to do one of two things. Either one, raise the bar of entry so that less students are able to go to college, so that those colleges can actually handle the load of those college students living in dorms for free. Or two, you have to, I'm blinking a little bit right now because it's a little late. No, that's pretty much it. You basically have to just low or increase or raise the bar of entry in order to make it so that um, the colleges are able to support the load of the students living in dorms for free. Um, I don't really see another way to go about it, um, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of our concept of free college within our nation as it is, because a lot of proponents for free college also believe that as many people as possible should have the ability to access college of some sort. when in reality that is not a good plan. That doesn't solve even half the issues within our education system because in reality, if you had a decent education system within this country, a lot of people that are going to college right now wouldn't need to go to college. The education that they received up until high school should have been sufficient enough in order to get them 90% of jobs. But we have been glorifying the bachelor's degree, the master's preferred, for decades now to the point where I think over 60% of jobs out there that are decently paying, uh, or what we would consider paying a living wage with benefits, healthcare, etc., require a college degree of some sort. Bachelor's required, master's preferred, you know the deal. So, in order to solve this problem, we need to go back several decades to how we used to practice education in this country, where we had much more, much better quality education from pre-K to senior year of high school, much more thorough, much better funded, and then a high bar of entry for college, which is based upon grades or military service or public service or test scores. I think that's fair. Because otherwise, you're just you're going to compound the issue into like the debt problem is still going to be still going to exist in some capacity because people are going to go into debt to pay for their housing in order to be able to go to college in the first place. If you don't try to figure out the free housing, and it's a triangle, it's a triangle compromise where it's you can have free tuition, you can have free housing, but you can't have a low barrier of entry. You can have a low barrier of entry, you got free tuition, but you can't have free housing. Where you can have free housing and a low barrier of entry, but you can't have free tuition. Um, like somewhere, somehow, things have to be paid for. And there's actually a skewed incentive if you think about it in regards to the whole free college tuition thing. Uh, that in order for the universities to be able to pay for the free tuition in the first place, property taxes would probably have to be risen locally, and you know what that means for rental prices and the like. They go up. Property taxes go up, um, meaning you're just offsetting the cost of college onto local property owner and taxpayers, which are then going to try to reap the benefits in some way, shape, or form, or offset the cost for themselves by charging students more that are living on their properties trying to go to college. So instead of having $1 trillion in student loan debt paying for tuition, instead you could have $500 billion in student loan debt trying to pay for uh, a insane cost for housing because the demand for free college is so high, but housing supply is so fucked in this country. Um, yeah, remember the triangle: free tuition, free housing, or was it free housing? Yeah, free tuition, free housing, barrier of entry. You can only have two. Pick two. You can't have all three. It's just not a thing. That is not possible. I don't see a way in which that could be possible. It was like not in our country. No. Um. So like even in the military, the way they go about this conundrum, because there is this conundrum in the military, is high barrier of entry. So let's say about 75% of every single of all people that try to join the military within our country uh get no, not even 75. I'll say closer to 90 to 95% of all people that try to enlist or join the military in some capacity get filtered out within the first couple of years of trying to join and first serve their first enlistment contract. Most people don't qualify for military service, and even if they do, a decent chunk of them get washed out in the first couple of stages of integrating into the military. So they have an extremely high barrier of entry in regards to drug use, criminal history, testing. You have to meet minimum requirements for testing, especially for like the decent technical jobs that aren't just painting shit on the side of a boat or you know setting up like setting up makeshift military bases on a beach in fucking Omaha. Barrier of entry is insane in the military. So that is how they're able to be very, very, very selective and give the benefits of free housing or free tuition, free housing. That's the GI Bill. That's how they're able to do it. Even even in the one case that we have where there is free tuition, free housing, or at least paid for housing, the barrier of entry is ridiculous. It is so high. Very few people actually make it to the point where they can use the GI Bill, at least compared to the numbers of people that try to join the military. So, I think my case stands that if you support free college, you support free housing, but you also support a increase in the barrier of entry to college. But you also have to support a revamping of our lower education systems as well, because otherwise shit doesn't work. And you also need to support the lowering of education requirements within all workspaces in corporate America or just in for work in America in general. Um, I am very much pro education, but I do view these issues not in the sense of everybody needs to be hyper educated across the board like the Europeans do. I view this as we need to have a baseline level of education that is high to begin with coming out of high school, and then the top 10% or the best should have the opportunity to pursue further education that then grants them further career opportunities, etc., that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. We used to operate this way as a country. It worked for a very long time, but for some fucking reason, we thought that everybody needed a college degree, and we're here where we are now. And again, remember the fucking triangle. I'm going to emphasize this. Remember the triangle. Free tuition, free housing, barrier of entry. Pick two. I think my thesis is sound on this. If you disagree, however, go ahead and comment below. Go ahead and dislike my video, but I prefer if you like my video because, that always helps. If you like what I'm saying and you feel like I'm having a stimulating conversation, or at least a one-way conversation, go ahead and like and subscribe and share my video. There should be two playlists over here, and the subscribe thing is right over here. Hopefully my audio issues go away, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Find the damn